why is your deadlift stuck and how are you gonna push past this plateau? So my name is Joseph Lucero. I'm the owner of HarvestingStrength.com. I work with powerlifters and strongmen. And one of the questions I get when people start working with me is, why is my deadlift stuck? I mean, obviously I can watch the videos and I can tell you, hey, there's either a technique problem or there's a programming problem. But all in all of us are unique, but there are some kind of big milestones people have to achieve with the deadlift in order to not get stuck and to be successful. So just to overview this video real quick, we're gonna talk about two components of the deadlift. We're gonna talk about your programming issues, and then we're gonna talk about the technique issues. I like to start with the programming because, I don't know, it's a little bit more of a topic people bring up to me. They'll say, hey, I'm on this deadlift program, what do you think? Or, hey, how much is your deadlift program? I don't sell a program, I work as a coach. But with that being said, a lot of times when I inherit clients, I think the first problem I notice is programming issues, and then we kind of roll into the technique issues. So I'm just gonna go in that fashion. What I will talk about in this video is people lift too heavy, they don't lift explosive, and they don't prioritize rest. I know that sounds stereotypical, but I am going to give you some numbers here in a minute about your central nervous system and days you need to recover. So I'm going to hit the programming issues, and then from a technique standpoint, I'm going to talk about your starting position. So a lot of people are strong at deadlift, they just have a really bad starting position. Another thing is bracing. They don't know how to move their core and their hips in conjunction with a good deadlift. And then another issue we come across is like the slack pull. And that was one, it took me until practically 30 years old to realize. But here we go. So when it comes down to the deadlift, one of the first problems you have that causes you to be stuck and to plateau is you lift too heavy. So if you think about it, you want to be a heavy deadlifter, you're going to lift heavy, but the problem with the deadlift is, unlike most movements, it's a single phase movement. I mean, you're picking up dead weight and lifting it to lockout. Because it's a single phase movement, it requires a ton of muscle anatomy. And your muscle anatomy, not only your muscle anatomy, but your nervous system too. So talking about going from dead weight on the floor, picking it up to lockout, you're gonna have to use a ton of muscle, a ton of your nervous system, your skeletal system's gonna wear down. This is a very tough type of movement that is not easy to recover from. So just to kind of push forward into, one thing I talk about in this video about rest, it might take up to 72 hours, or it could take maybe a week to recover from a heavy deadlift. So you gotta be very careful about how you strategically work about your deadlift. But to get back onto the topic of lifting too heavy, we're talking about people who wanna lift, maybe 500 is their milestone, 600, 700, 800. You can't, the stronger you get, you can't lift normal anymore. So like if you're a newbie, you get those immediate gains just because you're learning how to master the skill. But the stronger you get, the more absolute strength you have, you can't lift heavy that often. I got some clients who might lift heavy once or twice a month. So we're talking about, we're gonna assess their deadlift one time out of 30 days or 2 times. That's hard for them to accept, okay? But to get back to kind of where I am going with this topic, if your deadlift is stuck, you might be lifting too heavy. You gotta roll in some different intensities, which gets me to my next point, which is you don't practice speed enough. So if you wanna be like a powerlifter or a strongman, or if you just wanna be the person at your local YMCA that impresses their peers before they go out on Friday night, if you wanna be that person, that's awesome, but I'm gonna tell you this. If you wanna lift a heavy deadlift, you're not just gonna lift it and be strong. One problem people have with their compounds, their squat, their bench, their deadlift, their overhead press, is they treat it like a strength movement. It's gotta be a powerful movement too. I mean, powerlifting has the term power, there has to be some explosiveness to it. And power is, gonna consider acceleration. It's gonna be strength times speed, or strength and speed in some kind of formula. So I would say for you, one thing you need to think about is one day a week you have your heavy day, but then the next time you train, you need to have your speed day. So I'd say within 72 hours, you get your heavy deadlift day, you're working sets of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever it might be, okay? You're lifting up to a top set. The next time you deadlift within 72 hours or so about 3 days, you wanna lift for speed. You should take 70% of that big lift and lift it for speed and just match the reps. So if you did a top set of 4 on deadlift and it was 500, well, 70% of 500 is 350 pounds. Let's do speed sets with 4 reps of 350. So, and instead of doing just one big set of that, we probably need to do multiple sets. Probably want to do a range of 3 to 6 sets, maybe even more. But the reason why you want to do that is because you want to challenge yourself in that starting position multiple times. So if you do 6 sets of 4 as your speed day, because you did a top set of 4 a few days ago, now you have 6 opportunities to walk up to the bar and to lift with speed and to push yourself into the floor and jerk the bar and be more powerful than ever. Rate of force development, that's a huge feature of a crazy, awesome deadlifter. If you're not sure what that term means, go to Google right now and figure that part out, okay? So you can't lift heavy too often. You gotta lift with some speed and you gotta rest enough. So here's my calendar performance for you. This month, if you're like brand new to all this and you're not sure how to start, I have a blog that I'm gonna attach to this YouTube video. If you don't see it now, well, my future self's gonna tell you that you're gonna see it now, but if this is a fresh video and you haven't noticed it yet, it's gonna pop up after the fact. But I'm gonna have a blog that talks about a good deadlifting program and a structure. But my advice to you would be, if you're brand new to this or if you're trying something different right now, I would say week 1, work up to a top set of 5 on deadlift. Even if you underplay it and you think you could have done more, just work up to a top set of 5. So let's say you did 405. Now remember, I said 70% of that needs to be on your speed day, right? So day 1 of week 1, you did 405 times 5. Now we're gonna do sets of 5, so speed reps. Let's do 3 sets of 5, speed. 70% of 405 is around 280. So now on that day, 72 hours after the fact, let's do 3 sets of 5 with speed using that. And then the next week, we'll go up a little bit more. So maybe week 2, instead of 5 reps of 405, now you work up to 415. And then you take 70% of that and do your 3 sets of 5 after that. And then week 3, go a little bit heavier. So what's happening is from week 1 to week 3, you're building up. But then on the 4th week, let's go ahead and do a deload. And what that means is you're gonna go, so I'm gonna scoot in a little bit, over the 4-week block course. Week 1 starts here, week 2, week 3, that's like the pinnacle. That's your heaviest and hardest week. And then on week 4, you drop it down a little bit. What you'll do on that deload is take your top week, 80% of it, and program that intensity. So if you worked up to 425 pounds as your heavy set, then on week 4, use 80% of that as your deload. And here's the thing, to get to the top of the mountain, it's not gonna be just one big peak. You're gonna have peaks and valleys. So my hope is this, with your training, if you kind of follow this guideline I'm talking about, you build up, take a step back, recover. Build up, take a step back, recover. Build up, so it kind of zigzags, peaks and valleys to where you get to the top, where that is your deadlift max. Now, remember, my good key points of programming, you're lifting too heavy, you need to work more speed, you need to prioritize recovery. Heavy deadlifting should happen maybe 2 to 3 times a month, okay? And then you have that deload. So I really advocate for that. You got your heavy days, you got your speed days. So I'm hoping I'm still with you right now, okay? So with that being done, now let's talk about the technique issues, okay? So one big thing is a terrible starting position. I just made a video for this on my Discord. If you want to join my Discord, I think I'm going to link that below as well in the video description. So I got a blog, I got a Discord that's free, okay, that you can join. And we have some programming in there to help you out. But nonetheless, one of the worst things about technique for deadlift is a bad starting position, okay? So I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to change the camera. Actually, no, I don't want to, because then I have to slide the arm. I'm going to step over here, okay? So I'm going to straddle this bar. Sadly, looks a little awkward, my bad. But a lot of people's starting positions are like this right here. Actually, I need to squat lower, so I'm going to move over here. People think they have to squat down with the bar to start. Here's the thing. Look at my shins, my lower leg. If I squat down to start, do you see how my shins are diagonal? They're going from here and going out that direction. Vertical lines in nature are the strongest. Think about buildings. Think about the power rack right here. You see the uprights? These things are 90 degrees. They're vertical to the floor. So if you squat down to start your deadlift and your shins are vertical, the first thing that's going to happen when you deadlift is your hips are going to slide back until your shins are vertical, and then you're going to deadlift. But look what happened. I went from here, sliding back, and now I'm all low back. So a good starting position, you want to harmonize an effort. You want your hips to go backwards, but also down. So don't just squat down, okay? Hips back and hips down. Look slightly down, and then from here, when you pull, now you got vertical lines in your shins and in your arms, okay? So that's how you want your starting position. In addition to starting position, another issue is bracing. Some people's bracing just sucks. Now, when you brace, you want to breathe in through your stomach, which expands into your belt. When you brace, you don't do this. You don't raise your shoulders. You let your stomach go out. You want that thing to expand, and when you couple that with a belt, now your spine is going to stay upright in a safe position. Some people, when they deadlift, they pull their hips back like this because they think that's a safe position in a flat back. That is not. When you do that, look at my hand here and my hand here. When you pull your hips back, do you see how that distance increased? When your abdominals are stretched, they're in a weakened position. So you kind of want it to be, when you come down in deadlift, you want it to be where your hips kind of tilt forward a little bit. So then when you brace, have the belt on, and you have a shorter distance here, that deadlift's going to come off the floor much nicer, okay? So you want to fix your starting position. Hips go back and down. Fix your bracing. Don't pull your hips back. Keep them neutral or slightly forward. And then the third issue I see a lot of people do, slack pull. They go from grabbing the bar and then yanking it. You're going from a rested state to a contracted state. So my advice is, before you deadlift, I know this isn't a real deadlift, before you deadlift, did you hear how the bar wiggled a little bit? Okay, hear it again. Okay, so before you deadlift, imagine this on the floor. Go ahead and start pulling the weight up a little bit. So now I feel weight in my hands, and then boom, I can get into the lift a lot faster. So before you deadlift, you want to pull the bar. Pull before you pull. And if you do that, your body's going to be tight, so it's a much easier transition off the floor to be a much better deadlifter. So I think I've talked too long, 13 minutes. But all in all, you might be strong, you just have a bad program, or you just have bad technique, or you just have both. But to review the video, don't lift heavy, okay? Don't lift just heavy. Lift with speed. Alternate those things for about 3 weeks, and then take a whole week light. So that's your deload. From there, fix your starting position, hips go back and down, okay? Shorten that abdominal, brace, breathe through your belly, and pull the bar before you pull. And I guarantee if you do all those steps, you're gonna be a much better deadlifter immediately. So please like the channel, leave a comment, subscribe, check us out at harvestingstrength.com. Check the description below. I do have the blog, free Discord, some other things you can look at too, a free deadlift e-course you can download. Anyways, look at the resources, check it all out, and hopefully I'll catch you next time.